I still remember the exact moment everything started. It was almost midnight. The kind of night where everything feels too quiet and your thoughts become louder than they should. My phone lit up. A message from him. My best friend. Bro, I need your help. It is important. At first, I didn't think anything of it. He always texted like that when he was bored or needed advice about something random. Games, cars, work, normal stuff. So I replied almost instantly. What is up? There was a short pause. Longer than usual. Then he typed. There's a girl, she means a lot to me. I want to surprise her, but I don't know how to choose a ring. I stopped for a second. A ring? That wasn't like him. Not at all. He was the type of guy who laughed at romance movies. The type who said relationships were complicated and unnecessary. So I literally smiled at my phone and typed back. Wait, you, in love, what happened to you? He replied almost immediately. People change. That sentence felt strange. Not romantic. Not excited. Just flat. Like he wasn't talking about love. More like he was talking about a decision. Still, I didn't think too much about it. I just assumed he finally met someone who changed him. It happens. Right? Then he said, I need your help. You know my taste better than anyone. Let us meet tomorrow. And I agreed. Because that is what friends do. They help each other. Even with rings. Even with love. Even when something feels slightly off, but you ignore it. The next day felt normal. Too normal. That is the weird part I remember now. Sunlight. People walking. Noise from cars. Everything looked fine. Like nothing was about to break. We met at the mall entrance. He was already there. Waiting. Hands in pockets. Calm. Too calm. I waved at him. Hey. He nodded. Let us go. That is it. No excitement. No nervousness. No smile. Just direct. Like he had a goal. We walked inside. The air inside the mall was warm, slightly artificial. Smell of perfume, coffee, and expensive stores mixed together. We stopped in front of a jewelry shop. Gold letters on glass. Bright lights inside. Everything inside looked expensive. He paused before entering. Just for a second. Then he walked in. Like he already knew where he was going. The woman at the counter smiled immediately. Hello, can I help you? He answered before I could say anything. Yes, we were looking for a ring. Simple. Direct. No hesitation. She nodded. For a girlfriend? And that is when he said it. The sentence I still remember clearly. For someone very important to me. Not my girlfriend. Not my love. Just someone important. I didn't notice it at the time. But now I realize how careful that answer was. Too careful. Almost like he was choosing words instead of speaking naturally. We started looking at rings. Glass displays everywhere. Diamonds reflecting light like tiny stars. He moved slowly between them, studying, not like someone emotional, more like someone comparing options, like it was a decision, not a feeling. I tried to joke to lighten the mood. Man, I never thought I'd see you doing this. He smiled slightly, but didn't respond. Instead, he asked the woman, which one is the most reliable? That was a weird word to use. Reliable. Not beautiful. Not romantic. Reliable. The woman hesitated, then showed him a few options. He looked at them carefully, one by one, and then it happened. He stopped. At one ring. Completely stopped. Like everything else disappeared. He stared at it longer than everything else combined. I noticed. So that one? I asked. He didn't answer immediately. A long pause. Too long. Then finally, yeah, this one feels right. And for the first time that day, I felt something strange. Not fear, not suspicion, just a tiny discomfort, like a shadow behind a glass door. Something I couldn't fully see, but I could feel it. We stood there in that jewelry store for a moment that felt longer than it should have. He was still looking at the ring, like it had pulled him in, like nothing else in the room mattered anymore. The woman behind the counter smiled politely, waiting for a reaction. I leaned slightly closer to him. "So you really like this one?" He nodded. "Yeah." Short. Plain. No emotion. Then he added, "It is perfect." Something about the way he said it felt rehearsed. Like he had already decided this before we even came here. The woman carefully took the ring out of the display case. The light hit it and reflected across the glass surface. It looked expensive, cold, beautiful in a way that didn't feel warm. "Do you want to try it on?" she asked. He hesitated, just for a second. Then he shook his head. "No, it is not for me." That was obvious. But the way he said it, it felt like he was protecting something, not just answering a question. I laughed a little. "You reacting like this is a wedding proposal, not just a gift." He smiled, but again not fully. Just the corners of his mouth moved. No real warmth behind it. "You don't understand," he said quietly. That sentence made me pause. "What don't I understand?" I asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he kept looking at the ring, like it was more important than the conversation. The woman wrapped the ring carefully. Black box. Soft foam inside. Perfect presentation. Everything looked too clean, too final. When she handed it to him, his fingers closed around it slowly, almost carefully, like it wasn't just jewelry, like it was something heavier, something meaningful in a way I couldn't yet understand. We left the store. The air outside felt different, louder, colder. People walking, talking, laughing, normal life continuing as if nothing strange had just happened. But I couldn't shake the feeling anymore. Something was off. I looked at him while we walked. "So," I said. "Who is she, actually?" He didn't answer immediately. That pause again. That same pause from the night before. Then he said, "You will meet her soon." And something inside me tightened, because I realized something strange. He didn't sound excited. He didn't sound nervous. He sounded certain. Too certain. Like everything was already planned. Like I was the only one who didn't know what was coming. We stopped near the exit. He looked at the bag in his hand. Then he said quietly, "Don't worry, you helped me choose the right one." I nodded slowly, but I didn't feel relieved. I felt something else. Something I couldn't explain yet, because at that moment, I still believed the ring was for a girl he loved. I still believed this was a normal story. I still believed I was just helping a friend. I had no idea that I was actually part of it. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything in my head. His voice. The ring. The way he said you will meet her soon. Something about it didn't sit right with me anymore. At first, I told myself I was overthinking, but the feeling didn't go away. It grew. The next morning, he texted me again. "Can we talk?" Just that. No explanation. No emoji. Nothing like his usual messages. I replied immediately. "Yeah, what is up?" He sent a location. A small cafe near the city center. Not the mall. Not a shop. Just a quiet place. That already felt strange. When I arrived, he was already there, sitting by the window. Same calm expression. But this time, he wasn't looking at his phone. He was just waiting. For me. I sat down. "Hey," I said. He nodded. "Hey." Silence. Long silence. too long for two friends meeting normally. Then he said something unexpected. I need to tell you something. My stomach tightened slightly. Okay, I said slowly. He looked at me directly, and for the first time since this whole thing started, his voice changed. It became serious. He said, "The ring isn't tea for a random girl." I frowned. What do you mean? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he looked down at the table, like he was choosing how much truth to reveal. Then he said, "It is for someone you know." I laughed a little. Bro, what? Stop messing around. But he didn't smile. Not even slightly. That is when I stopped laughing. He leaned forward and said the next sentence very quietly. "Actually, you're closer to this than you think." My mind started racing. "What are you talking about?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he pulled the small black ring box out of his pocket, the same one from the store. He placed it on the table, slowly, deliberately, like it meant something more than just jewelry. "I didn't tell you everything," he said. I should have. My heart started beating faster. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Then he said it. The sentence that changed everything. "I didn't ask you to help me choose a ring for a stranger." He paused, looked at me directly, and finished. "I asked you to help me choose a ring for her." I froze. "Her who?" He didn't answer. He just looked at me, and in that silence, I suddenly felt like the room became smaller. He pushed the box slightly toward me and said, "You are going to understand everything tonight." I stared at the box on the table. My hands didn't move. My brain was trying to connect pieces that didn't fit together. Nothing made sense anymore. "Stop," I said quietly. "What are you talking about?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he leaned back in his chair. And for the first time, he looked tired. Not nervous. Not excited. Just tired. Like he had been carrying something for too long. "You really don't get it, do you?" he asked. I shook my head. "No, I don't." He looked down, then said it slowly. "She isn't just someone important to me." A pause. A longer one this time. Then, "She is your girlfriend." For a second, I didn't react. My mind literally refused to process it. That sentence didn't make sense. It couldn't make sense. I laughed nervously. "That is not funny." He didn't laugh. Not even a little. "I am not joking," he said. And then everything went silent. Not the normal kind of silence. The kind that feels like sound disappeared completely. I leaned forward. My voice dropped. "What are you saying?" He finally looked at me again and said, "I've been with her." The words hit slower than expected. Like my brain was replaying them to understand if they were real. "I didn't plan it," he continued. "It just happened." I stood up immediately. "What do you mean it happened?" People in the cafe turned their heads. But I didn't care. My heartbeat was loud in my ears. He stayed calm. Too calm. Like he already went through this moment in his head 100 times before. "She told me not to say anything," he said quietly. "But I couldn't keep lying to you." That was it. The moment everything broke. The ring. The messages. Of someone important. It all snapped into place in the worst possible way. I looked at the box again. My hands were shaking now. "So you were telling me," I said slowly, "I helped you choose a ring for my girlfriend." He nodded. "Yes." I stepped back. My chair fell slightly behind me. The sound echoed, but I barely heard it, because my mind was already somewhere else, trying to remember every moment, every detail, every time she smiled at her phone, every time she said just a friend, and suddenly, it all made sense. He stood up. I didn't he want it to happen like this, he said. But you deserve to know. I didn't he answer. I couldn't he. Because at that moment, I realized something even worse. The ring wasn't the ending of a story. It was the beginning of one I never agreed to be part of.